It is hard to imagine a crime more callous than using a baby's death for personal profit, but it's happening all across the country.
And a Fox 6 investigation finds the tools needed to commit the crime are available right online for free.
That's right, Ted and Mary. After you die, you have no legal right to privacy. So for the past 30 years, the U.S. Social Security Administration has made its database of deceased Americans available for purchase. Now some criminals are using that information to profit from the deaths of young children.
Hi, baby.
His name is Elijah.
You happy now?
And he will always be Katie McDonald's third-born son.
And what else do we have of him? I mean, we have memories and we have his name.
Last winter, the 4-month-old Waukesha boy was diagnosed with the H1N1 virus, otherwise known as swine flu.
Kids get sick all the time, you know.
The hospital sent him home, but hours later, Katie's world was turned upside down.
The last moment that I remember with him being alive was me giving him his little nebulizer treatment, putting the mask on, and he's all licking it and smiling and pushing it away.
She laid down to nurse him.
And that's when he passed away.
Yeah. 1 year later, Katie and her husband are raising another baby boy. But the pain from losing Elijah is still fresh. And last month, something happened that poured salt in that already tender wound.
It was hard.
Just 2 days before the anniversary of her son's death, Katie sat down to do her taxes. She says it was an emotional experience entering Elijah's name as one of her dependents.
Because it was the last time I was going to be able to have him recognized as my child.
Then the IRS rejected her form.
I thought, okay, well, maybe I just didn't put in the right numbers or there was a goof up somehow.
She tried to resubmit it again and again with the same result, and that's when she noticed an explanation buried in the fine print. Someone else had already claimed Elijah as their own.
And the IRS, when I was talking to them, they said, are you sure you have the right to claim him? And I'm like, oh, yes, he's my child. Nobody has the right to claim him. Only we have the right to claim him.
Katie vented her frustration on the website of an infant loss support group and soon found she wasn't alone. In fact, all across the country, parents who've lost young children are finding the same thing is happening to them.
It disgusts me to no end to know that somebody preyed upon my daughter's death for his or her own gain.
Jonathan Agan's daughter Alexis died of brain cancer. And just like Elijah, an identity thief claimed Alexis as a dependent before her parents could.
She was victimized twice, once by the cancer that stole her from this earth, and then by a cold-hearted criminal who stalked her and utilized her death for profit.
Earlier this month, Agan told the members of a powerful congressional committee that he believes the federal government is to blame
for providing identity thieves the information to commit this crime.
The U.S. Social Security Administration maintains a database of more than 87 million deceased Americans known as the Death Master File. It's often referred to as the Social Security Death Index, and under the Freedom of Information Act, it is routinely sold to private companies. Some of them make that data available on the internet for free.
Not only is this an invasion of my child's privacy, but it adds to the tremendous grief that my wife and I live with on a daily basis.
Katie found Elijah's personal information online in less than a minute.
I got a whole list of all the babies that died from 2010 to 2011. He was on the 4th page.
Just how easy is it? Well, pull up the Social Security Death Index on one of these websites and type in a couple of search terms. And in less than 20 seconds, I have a list of more than 1,000 infants who died in Wisconsin last year alone, complete with each child's name, date of birth, and Social Security number.
The so-called Holy Trinity of personally identifying information.
Now the National Consumers League and others are calling on Congress to restrict public use of the Death Master File.
While NCL generally supports transparency of government data, in this case we believe that the risk the public DMF could be used for nefarious purposes outweighs the benefit.
Ironically, many companies that rely on the Death Index use it to prevent fraud.
It's my private library.
But it's also a popular tool for family history researchers like Arlene Brockman.
And if you know your roots, good, bad, or indifferent, if you know your roots, you have a security.
Her Bayside basement is crowded with paper records, but the 3-time president of the Milwaukee County Genealogical Society spends most of her time on the computer, searching the Social Security Death Index.
I do genealogy 4 or 5 or 6 days a week, and I use it virtually every day that I'm researching.
Brockman and other genealogists say it would be a travesty for the public to lose access to this treasure trove of historical information.
I'd cry.
But Katie McDonald is hardly sympathetic.
If they sat in our shoes for one day, they would be the ones fighting, saying, okay, no, this is just ridiculous.
Even now, Elijah's personal information remains readily available to the public. But as far as the IRS is concerned, the identity of the person who tried to profit from his death is a closely guarded secret.
Go to the police department, press charges on the person that did this. Okay, well, who did it? Oh, we can't tell you that, ma'am. They have rights, privacy rights. Okay, what rights do I have? What rights does my son have? None.
That is something Katie wants to change.
I say bye-bye.
It's not something I want any other parent to have to go through. It's hard enough losing your child and then having to relive the grief all over again.
I'm getting tired. I'm going night-night.
Something needs to change.
According to a 2008 audit of the Social Security Administration, publication of the Death Master File has not only led to identity theft of children and adults who've died, it has exposed the Social Security numbers of more than 20,000 people who are still alive. That's because living people are mistakenly added to the database all the time. The audit recommended that the Social Security Administration limit the type of information contained in the public version of the Death Master File, but that has yet to happen because the agency says that requires an act of Congress.
Congress is talking about it, but Congress talks about many things.
Sure.
Any sign that they'll take action on this?
Well, certainly that's what they were talking about in the House Ways and Means Committee. There's a bill before the House Ways and Means Committee right now that would restrict access to the Death Master File, who can get it and how they can use it, but that bill is still pending. Now, since hearing about this since this hearing, I should say, on February 2nd, some genealogy websites have already taken steps to restrict access to the information. For example, one of the big ones, Ancestry.com, still allows a free search of the death index, but only provides actual access to Social Security numbers to its paying customers. It's one step.
Well, about that, as I watch this, it strikes me that there could be a compromise there. I mean, to get personal, to use my own father, I know when he died and his date of birth, but why can't you just have that information? Why does his Social Security information have to be there? Because that's what leads to identity theft when you get those key pieces of information. If you're studying history, date of birth, date of death really should be all you need, yes?
Well, for genealogists, when they're looking, especially with common names, they're looking to say, at times sort between 50 different Ted Perrys, for instance. That Social Security number is the key identifier that helps them. And other uses of this beyond genealogy, you have companies that are trying to sort out. In fact, one of the original purposes of this was to sort out those who were using Social Security numbers of those who had died for identity theft. If you're a business, a financial company, for instance, you want to find out if that's the case, you check that number against the death index, and then you know whether or not it's. So there are purposes, there's a reason for it to be there. The question is, should it be open to everyone in the general public?
And in this context, for your story, you were talking about these people that exploit the deaths of children, which is despicable. But it's also the death of adults. You said many people who are here in this country illegally searching that, taking those identities.
Yeah, and that's, again, one of the reasons that this index was made public in the first place was to sort out that kind of identity theft. The way it's being exploited now by criminals, children, dead children, this is just one way it's being exploited. That's what we focus on tonight, but it is just one of the problems. It's definitely a difficult situation, and there's some discussion right now as to what the best compromise is, how much access is the right amount of access.
All right, Brian Paulson, thanks very much.
You got it.
We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back on Fox 6 News at 9.